Now, the abducted pupils of Islamia School in Niger State have been reunited with their families after about 3 months in captivity on the same day that 18 students abducted from a college in Zamfara regained their freedom. Well, joining us now to look at the rising cases of school abductions and other security challenges is a security and intelligence expert, Dr. Yahuza Getso. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's almost like we've lost count of the schools that have been attacked, invaded by this terrorists, bandits, whatever you want to call them, or kidnappers. What do you make of this? Why do you think the schools have become a target of the terrorists?
Yeah, I think there are 2 or 3 things that we need to look at, the primary and the secondary perspective. The primary reason is because these kidnappers have been terrorizing communities. This is started from the remotest rural community. It comes to the rural communities, to villages, to towns, and to some extent, to some part of the major urban and cities. So they need the attention of the government, but government did not in any way bring its attention in respect to probably discussing anything or things like that. Even though some of the governors proclaimed that they have been dialoguing with the bandits, which I keep disputing. Because if you want to conduct a dialogue, you need 4 items. Okay. 1, you need the community who were hurt, you need the bandits, and you need the security formation who are supposed to stand as administrators, and at the same time, you also need the government who's supposed to stand as a surety. So there must be an agreement. There must be a written document, which I keep disputing. I'm asking the governors of those states who proclaimed that they have had dialogue with these criminals to publish the evidence, either verbal evidence, either audiovisual evidence, or either written evidence, which there is none. So the bandits felt they are conniving with internal forces, because there are internal forces within all the states where these children were kidnapped. As I have been saying, I'm disputing the statement credited to the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, that most of these bandits and criminals are not Nigerians. This is not true. They are Nigerians. I have my evidences. I conduct field-based practical evidence of all locations in all the areas where we have all this conflict in both northeast, north central, northwest, and even some part of southwest and south-south. I have been to almost all the local governments, the front local government, the front states. I go practically and I see what is happening. So there is a connivance. 99.9% of those who are committing these offenses, most especially in north central and northwest, 7 northwestern states, 99.9% are indigenous.
Okay.
And they are terrorizing the communities known to them, and the communities know them, and some of the members of those communities are helping them. So it is not all Fulanis, all Hadas that are criminals. There is connivance with other community members, in some instances even community leaders, in some instances some of the philanthropists within. So the targeting the schools is to call the attention. There is inputs from other political opponents, as revealed in some cases of that of Kankara and some other places, which was clearly come out in the statement made afterwards.
Okay, Dr. Yahuza, just hold your breath there, because there's so much that we're going to interrogate about the revelations you're bringing now. We are just receiving some breaking news now. 32 of the remaining 63 abducted students of Bethel Baptist High School, Damishi in Kaduna State, have been released from captivity. The chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria Kaduna State Chapter, Reverend Joseph Hayab, confirmed this to Arise News. He said the students were released this evening and have been reunited with their parents. An undisclosed sum of money was said to have been paid before their release. The remaining students still in captivity are now 31. That's the breaking news.
Yes.
Let me just quickly ask you, you've talked about insider connivance in this kidnapping business. And the locations, if you've moved around, you know, the critical areas where these kidnappings, you know, are usually carried out, into the forests, that's where they keep them. Are the forests impregnable, or what form of security are we going to use, you know, to secure our forests? Forest rangers, the copter option, technology?
Well, as an expert on forestry criminality in West Africa, I want to tell you that the problem is the security operatives that are operating. You know, we have 4 types of security system in Nigeria.
Okay.
1 formal and 2 informal. So there is no synergy between the 3. The formal is a structured system of governance, which you have the military, you have the DSS, you have the police, you have the immigration, you have the custom, you have civil defense, and all others. The other non-formal, which is the vigilante, that mostly align and work as errands, and also bush hunters that work around the traditional authorities at various levels. That is, at the amias level, he has his own vigilante, at the district head level, at the village head level, at the ward head level, and then you have a community volunteers. There are a number of other security strata that you have, especially in some part of northeastern Nigeria and northwestern Nigeria, and some part of northern Niger, and part of southern Benin, and part of southern and northern Togo, as well as part of the Cameroon and Chad. So in all these settings, the system is the same. There are others unstructured or non-formal structure of intelligence that they work as volunteers. This happens mostly when there are foreign issues. So they started as such, and at the same time they continue like inheritance. And this is traced for over 600 years ago that has been happening in West Africa, not only Nigeria alone, and not only northwest or northeast, or is not peculiar to only northern part of the country, but rather. So what is really need to be put in place?
Yes.
1, the security operatives need to have a collaboration, a partnership, because the relationship between the security operatives and the community formal and non-formal structures is more or less a relationship between rat and a cat. So until and unless we review how the security operatives relate, how they generate information, and how they utilize the information, and they must also build the trust and confidence of these non-formal security structures. Because in many situations, you find out that these non-formal structures will generate information, will generate intelligence, provide it to the security, to the formal security system, either the military, either the police, either the custom, either whatsoever you have. But you realize at the end of it, yes, probably the culprit may be apprehended. But after the apprehension, maybe a time, 2 months or 3 months, the person will be released. I could remember, everybody knows in the Zamfara State, in the areas of Bakura where some of the recent students were released. There is one notorious armed trader there, because even the armed trading, armed deals, it have 4 components. Security, or our formal security operatives must bend down and listen and learn this. You have armed importers, you have armed traders, you have armed transporters, and you have armed distributors. And all these are synergy. And they are individuals, they are all categorized, there are all categories. There are some rotten security personnel, as revealed in the presentation made by some of the PPROs of some of the state commands. We have seen that. And there are also some that are within the borderlines of the respective states, borderline of the Nigerian state with other states, that is Niger, that is Benin, that is Cameroon, that is Chad, and so on and so forth.
How do you then break into this chain?
Sorry, just before you ask that question, we'll take a
We'll
quick
take a
break,
short
and
break.
when we return, the interrogation will continue.
All right, thanks for staying with us on Newsnight. We've been speaking with security and intel expert, Dr. Yahuza Getso, who's been making quite a lot of revelations tonight. Let me take you up on some of the things you said earlier about the ineffectiveness of governors in, fighting insecurity. President Muhammadu Buhari not too long ago actually blamed the governors for fueling insecurity, fueling kidnapping or kidnap for ransom and frustrating security forces. Do you agree with that? And how do you now break this cycle of gun importers or arms importers and, that chain of command? And what do we do to secure our forests, Sambisa and all the others where this terrorists actually use as their
Thank you very much for the question. One, I really commend President Muhammad Buhari for that, and I criticize him for that. Why? Because, yes, the governors contributed because most of them refused to conduct local government elections. That is one. And two, most of them, they proclaimed or they pretended to be the chief security officers of their states, whereby they are making proclamations through media that they don't have the control over the security personnel, especially the military, the DSS, the police. They said they report to the federal government. But in essence, when we go back to the budget and expenditures as enshrined, and as it is very clear that there are a number of resources being given by the state government or being supported. So what is the relationship? Why can't the state governors allow that money to be paid or to be deducted from the source?
Are you talking about security votes,
yes,
for
of
example?
Course. Not necessarily security votes alone. Okay. There are other funding support. Whenever there is attack in any community, the local government sole administrator or the elected chairman or the governor provide some stipend so that they can have some fuel to mobilize themselves, mobilize personnel to have a kind of motivation. We know about this, and this is happening. And in some instance, like in Katsina State, we know that the Office of the Advisor on Security Matters asked all the security operatives to provide a plan of action. And based on that, a certain amount of money was carved and given to the office. So it is being approved based on the plan of activity you said you want to conduct. And now, the question of how to go about addressing this issue in respect to the forest.
And security, exactly.
Yeah, we have to look at, we have to be optimistic. One, if you take, for example, if you give me a motorbike, one, you need to ask yourself 4 questions. First question, where is the fuel coming from? Who is, most of the motorbikes that they are using are serviceable. Who is servicing 200, 300 motorcycles? Where are they getting the diesels? The engine oils for servicing? Is there any fueling stations in the forest? If there is, who owns it? If there is none, who is supplying and what is the supply chain mechanism? And who is procuring all these resources for them? And a number of times there are military strikes, there is an attempt to repel attacks, but at the end, most of these criminals, they still escape into the forest. Yeah. Then we still see them, because some of them we know them, some of them the community members know them, some of them the security personnel that have been in the base, especially the police and the civil defense and immigration, they know who they are. As I keep saying that all the criminals, we know their locations. Where I use the word we, I'm a northerner, I came from Kano State. And there is no local government or political ward or community or any Fulani huts in 19 northern states that I have not been to. I know the belts. So government, the security forces must understand the conflicting situation of the uniqueness and ununiqueness of the links between the geographical belt between one state and another. And at the same time, I challenge the governors, all of them, especially in the northwestern state and the north central, do they have a single policy, a unique policy which they are using in fighting this insurgency? Do they have a single policy aligned with that of federal government? These days we had a contradicting positions of the two governments, the state government and the federal government. President Muhammad Buhari instructed that anybody that had been seen with AK-47 should be shot aside. And
Matawale, the governor of Zamfara State, has also just come up with this directive that anyone who's carrying 3 persons on a motorcycle within the
Should
state
be shot.
should be shot.
And,
Yes, of course. I
banned,
just got
sales of
fuel.
petrol in
But at the
jerrycans.
same time, Governor Masari of Katsina State instructed that people should get arms
to defend
to
themselves.
defend themselves.
Yeah.
And mark you, note that these are the people that are struggling to get 30 naira that they will use to buy puff of 20 naira and akara of 10 naira to eat. And these guns, AK-47 rounds, are being sold for 400, 500 and 600 as evidence-based refers to the presentation made by the PPROs of the state command
Inflation has
and the
caught up
national
with
level.
the sales
Even
of
about $1 million.
AK-47 now.
Yes.
But let's thank you very much, Dr. Yahuza Getso, is a security expert and an
Thank
intel
you so
officer
much.
for coming on News 9.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great
Thank
pleasure.
you.